Welcome to another DIY video. This time we are talking about powder room makeover. It's not too difficult at all if you follow what I did. If you have done your research, you should have a lot of questions. There are many problems you will face in the project. I will tell you how I solved all of them. If you're hiring a contractor instead of doing it yourself, this is a good reference to build up your knowledge so that you won't get ripped off. First, I am going to show you how to remove the existing toilet and sink. Then, you need to remove the tiles from the wall and on the floor. So, what tools do you need? There are a couple of options. I made a tile remover by myself, yes, DIY style. If you have bad luck like me, you may have to deal with mold behind the drywall. The next question is, do you reuse the mortar bed or do you use Ditra instead? I will talk about that. There are pros and cons. Is self-leveling compound needed or not, and why did I use it? How to cut the tiles and install them like a pro is very important. You don't want your tiles and grouts to crack. After finishing the tiles, you need to install the toilet flange extension and the wax ring. It's a little bit tricky, and I will share my experience with you. You don't want to miss that. Construction waste removal is something you need to think about before starting the project. Finally, after everything is completed, you may have a height difference between the tiles and the hardwood floor, and I am going to show you how to fix it. That sounds exciting. Okay, let's get started. This is the powder room I have. As you can see here, we need to remove the vanities and the tiles. The style is a bit dated. The most annoying part about this project is that the previous owner put the tiles everywhere on the wall. Honestly, I am not a big fan of that. After disconnecting the water supply and the drain pipe, I removed the pedestal and donated it to Habitat for Humanity. Next, we need to use a sponge to get rid of the water from the toilet bowl. Remember to wear gloves, it can be gross. After removing the nuts on the bottom of the toilet, you should be able to lift it up easily. Look at this, surprisingly it's pretty clean. One thing I want your attention is the existing foam gasket. The previous owner did not use wax ring or rubber gasket. They stacked two of them together. There are multiple ways from point A to point B. I cannot say this is right or wrong. I will discuss the difference later in the video. Then you can make the choice yourself. It's not a bad idea to put some bleach down the drain, then secure it using a piece of rag. You don't want any solid object got stuck in the drain during demolition.
Oh,
You may be wondering, why am I that stupid to remove the drywall together with the tile? Because I discovered a new problem: mold. If you have watched those renovation TV shows, whenever they have mold problem, they bring in some experts and seal the area. For DIY project, forget about that. So I grabbed a sign from the internet and put it up there. This makes my wife feel better. One DIY tips I want to share with you is that I don't like those metal bins for garbage disposal because they have a time limit. For Bagster, I have unlimited time to do the demolition and there's no rush for that. When you're done, you can just book the appointment and they will come pick it up in 2 days. It's good for those who have a 9-to-5 full-time job like myself. It's a little bit expensive, but it worth every penny. I am not affiliated with Bagster. This is not sponsored by them. I just want to help all of you DIY people from the bottom of my heart. To remove the tiles like a pro, I am making a tile removal tool by myself. I got this blade for the floor scraper from my local hardware store, and I am trying to attach it to the air chisel that came with my air compressor. I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. That looks pretty good. Let's move on. I am not a professional welder, but my welding actually worked. If you have not seen this video before, you should watch this. I will post the link in the description. Many years ago, I made a back hitch snowplow and it has been working for several years. And it hasn't broken yet. Okay, let's go back to the project and remove some tiles. There you go. That looks easy. I have a 4.9 SCFM 5-gallon air compressor. Honestly, I am pushing it to the limit, because the pump constantly kicks in all the time. That's not ideal. If you have a 20-gallon air compressor, I think that will be much better. For those of you who don't have a welding machine, you can go to the tool rental center and get the SDS Plus or SDX Max tile removal tool. Now all the tiles are gone. Next, we need to flatten the thinset. Let's stop for a second, because you need to understand the subfloor before we continued. In Canada and in the States, most of the houses have plywood or OSB as subfloor. You cannot put tiles directly on that, you will regret. However, if you are installing tiles over concrete in a basement, for example, and the concrete has been settled for at least 5 to 10 years, this is going to be interesting. Believe it or not, you can actually install tiles directly on it. I have done it before, and there was no crack for 15 years in my parents' basement. There is an article I found it on the internet that talks about that. I will post the link in the description. There are a couple of ways to do it properly to prevent your tiles and grouts from cracking. Most of the professional builders would use mortar bat with the mesh because the cost is low and is guaranteed to work. Pay attention to this method. There is a Polytarp acts as a membrane between the plywood and the mortar bat. If you have seen how I built the barbecue station for my backyard project, I used cement backer boards. Honestly, it was quite annoying to work with. I don't recommend that. Because I had to build the barbecue station to be fireproof, I had no choice. Overall, it was a very successful project. I will post a link in the description. You should check it out. If you ask me for my own opinion, I would say the best is to use Ditra Uncoupling membrane. I do have a project that uses Ditra. I will show it to you in the future. Ditra is very light in weight and is easy to cut. The only drawback is cost. Yes, it's very expensive. The goal is to reuse the mortar bat. After removing the tiles, we need to get rid of the thinset. I bought a dust extraction tool for my grinder that hooks up to the shop vac. Trust me, you will need this. Also, I got a 4.5 inches diamond cup wheel from Canadian Tire. I will show it to you how it works. Look at this! All the thinsets are gone. However, there are some damages I did it to the mortar bat. I think my homemade tile removal tool is too powerful. It's okay, life is not perfect. We will use some self-bonding patching cement to fix it. I will spend a minute to talk about drywall installation. Now, this is one of the reasons I bought the Honda Ridgeline. It takes the 4x8 drywall or plywood on the bed without any problems, just like that. Drywall installation is pretty straightforward. Cutting a rectangular electrical box is easy. Of course, make sure it's leveled. Before installing the drywall, you must use the vapor barrier tape to seal all the cracks. During demolition, it's very hard to avoid damaging the vapor barrier. To cut the drywall in half, all you have to do is to use a knife on one side. There you go. I think you got the idea. For the round-shaped electrical box, it's a test on your measuring skills. I am not a professional drywall installer and I don't do this every single day. If I am able to do it in one shot, so can you. I think I passed the measuring test. Okay, I am not going into details on how to use drywall compound or how to do sanding. There are too many YouTube videos out there that talks about that. Let's move on to some other more challenging problems. Next question is self-leveling compound needed or not? Yes, in this case, because when I used the grinder to get rid of the thinset, I could not guarantee it was completely flat or leveled. To make life easier when installing the tiles in the next step, self-leveling compound is gonna help. On the other hand, if you are using Ditra over plywood, self-leveling compound is not needed. I will show you the Ditra related video in the future. Everything is looking good. To prepare for the self-leveling compound, you need to put the masking tape everywhere. Make sure that the toilet flange and the air duct register are properly taped. There's no second chance to fix it once you start pouring the compound onto the mortar bed. One of the reasons people complained about self-leveling compound doesn't work is because they forget to apply primer. The primer is extremely toxic and it smells so horrible. I was wearing a P100 mask to protect myself. Okay, most of you DIY people know about this already. Always mix the cement into a bucket of water, but not the other way around. It's time and it's ready to let it flow. It's pretty satisfying to watch, so I am going to shut up for a moment. Alright, it's completed. Let's wait for it to dry overnight. I am excited to see if it's gonna get leveled by itself. The next day, time to check it out. Check it out, y'all! Look at this, that's amazing, it's perfectly leveled. I have this very long leveled, measuring from one end to the other is around 6 feet. Look, it's close to perfect. That's awesome. Self-leveling cement does work. This video is getting a little bit long. Next time, I will continue to talk about how to finish the rest of the project. I hope this helps. Give this a thumbs up if you find some good information in this video. My goal is to inspire more people into DIY. You may also want to check out other videos on my channel. I am pretty sure you will love them. Remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.